Okay, good morning. Today I have Mrs. Muñoz here with me. She is an English teacher for Freedom High School, and she has been in Freedom High School for 1 year. However, she has been teaching prior to being here in Freedom High School. She was in Dr. Phillips. Okay, so to start the interview, my first question is, how did you land this position?
All right, well, as you mentioned previously, I had prior experience teaching. I taught at Dr. Phillips High School, and before that I taught at Hillsborough County, and I had also taught in Puerto Rico, so I had some experience before coming here. In terms of landing this job, I think that what really helped in my favor is that I have my ESOL certifications, and we have a large ESOL population here. The class you observed previously is a English 3 regular class, but in the afternoon I have English 2 through ESOL. So again, I have the certifications to teach in both areas, and I already have experience. I'm familiar with FCAT, which we don't use anymore. We're familiar with FSA, and all the skills that we need to get our students to pass those tests.
Okay, very helpful. My second question is, many teachers would agree that the first year of teaching is the most difficult. When would you say you found your teacher voice?
Well, very true. First year is the most difficult just because we have all the theory, but then in reality we see that it's not always what we picture in our mind. So yes, I did struggle my first year. I was very young, just like you. The first time I taught high school, I was 21. My biggest surprise was that I had some students that were very close to my age, and they would confuse me frequently with students. So that was hard in the beginning. I would say I found my teacher voice, honestly, 3 or 4 years after I started teaching. Because in the second year, it's just, you're still adapting because it's so much. And as you know, in the system, it's always changing. So what you feel today, maybe next year you won't.
You'll have to change all
It's
over.
going to change again. So I would say 3-4 years is when I actually started feeling comfortable, and when what I expected was a little bit, it did connect with the reality. So 3rd, 4th year, that's when I actually started feeling comfortable with myself. And
you saw yourself as a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Third question. What do you enjoy most about your job?
As you know, getting in this job, it's not easy. Especially we do have a large population of students, different types of students. We deal with the social issues of the time directly. Okay, we have them right there. We do have the students that then you find out they're homeless, or they have, these very difficult situations. So those are things that make us struggle sometimes, but nothing makes me happier when we do have those struggling students, especially when they feel themselves that they have improved, and they feel, I passed FSA, I didn't know I was going to do it, thank you. So, it's really hard the day to day, but when you look at it after the year is over and you look at those moments, students who succeed, students who in your heart you were like, oh God, I'll help them because I know they probably won't make it, and then they do, and you just feel really proud. So those moments, it really does make it worthwhile. It makes it worthwhile.
Okay, I guess this question relates a little bit to those moments where you feel like, wow, this is really worth it. The fourth question is, what is one memorable moment you've had with a class or a student?
Memorable times. I never forget my first year teaching here in Florida. I was still getting used to all these testing like FCAT, because that's what they were using at that time. It's not a positive one, I have to say. But it's something that I will never forget. I had a student, he was a senior. He came from Saudi Arabia, and he was the hardest worker I had ever known. And he had to pass the FCAT to graduate, but his language was a big problem. I really worked hard with that student so he could pass. Unfortunately, he did not. And I remember it hit me hard because I felt like I had failed him as a teacher. But again, I worked with him, and overall he did get over it, and he learned more about other options that he had. So that I would say is one of the most memorable ones, because it was when I was myself still learning about Florida. So that's something, when I think about teaching in Florida, that kid pops in my mind, sort of that kid that I could not help. I have many positive ones, but that's one of the kids
the most memorable one.
that it pops in my mind automatically. It's a negative one, but that's just how we feel with these kids. Yeah.
Just goes to say sometimes you can't reach out and really connect with every student.
Try our best, but we
can only do
so much.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, the last question is, which course in college would you say is essential for every teacher to be?
Overall, the teaching classes and like teaching strategies and all that, it really does help. When you go back to your notebooks, you're like, oh, these are ideas that, I had forgot about. So I think those are very useful. This will be kind of strange, but I think the psychology classes are very important.
Really?
Especially those, as a high school teacher, I've taught elementary, it's not for me. But in high school, there's different ways that we need to learn how to deal, like I said previously, with all these social issues. How can I teach these kids grammar, verbs, verb tenses when this kid, he slept at a motel last night because he's not. So I think those psychology classes are essential because it helps you connect with the students. And it's been shown through research that if a teacher doesn't connect with a student and the student doesn't connect with you, the learning is really hard for it to take place. So I think those psychology classes, the other ones are important too, but those psychology classes are really important. What should you do with students who are facing this? And it also helps you control yourself when you sometimes feel that you're going to lose it. Different techniques and how to deal with a difficult student or a difficult group, especially in those first years.
Right. Okay, so touching a little bit on these social issues and how some students are more fortunate than others. I am taking Intro to Teaching Profession class, and I'm learning that children in poverty-driven homes and middle class and upper class, they have different mindsets. So it's interesting to see how that affects their humor, that affects their behavior. And I think being aware of that is very true. What you're saying will help you to understand a student, and perhaps the disruptive student will not just become the annoying one. Instead, you'll be more compassionate and sympathetic with that student. So I definitely agree that's very important. And then touching a little bit, since we haven't reached the 10-minute point,
That's fine.
that you said the elementary is not for you. You feel more comfortable with high school. So I'm currently undecided about whether I want to teach middle school or high school. I like the fact that high school students are more mature, but I also like the middle school age range where they're going through puberty, where they're learning how to have a good self-esteem, build up their confidence. So what would you say, like, defined that you wanted to teach definitely high school?
Well, unfortunately, I have not taught middle school. I have taught elementary level, 3 months, and then I had to leave. It was just not for me. And then I just taught high school. I've also taught college level courses. Middle school I have not taught. And honestly, I don't feel that it's for me just because I had such a bad experience with elementary school because it was upper elementary, 4th grade, 5th. So again, I can't help you out with the middle school, but what helped me decide is that in high school, we do have a lot of issues and they already have sort of their personality already, not like in middle school where they're still figuring out who they are. They're still figuring out who they are still, but I think it's more that they're realizing the purpose of why I'm going through all this. And it's, for some of them, it gives them it's sort of a wake-up call. And being part of that wake-up call and helping them, look, your school years are about to end, soon. What are you going to do afterwards? Let me help you get there. So just having that power in a way just helped me choose. Plus, they're much more mature. We could deal with more complex topics. And yeah, I think that's what helped me choose and decide that high school is what I wanted to teach. Also, the fact that, you tell them what they have to do, they should have the ability to do it themselves. That's not always the case, but overall, that's what we see. We could help them, but it's their call, So it just, that's what made me decide.
In other words,
elementary, there's so little, and, I had that situation like, Miss, I did my business and saw myself, but I don't oh God. So I was not cut out for that. I really respect elementary level teachers, but that's the reason.
So in other words, you have the power to empower them.
Exactly.
Right? To tell them, hey, it's worth it, go to college, and guide them through. Okay,
Yep.
well, that's really great. Thank you so much for
All
your
right.
time, Ms.
You're
Munoz. This was
welcome.
lovely and very helpful.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.